do you think you're focusing on empowering women because we are more keen or more ambitious when it comes to business as opposed to men? Or do you think, well, men have had a head start, it's time for us to just to level the playing field?
Yeah, I would pick your last sentence. Yes, to have a level playing field to ensure that women access the same opportunities as men. Yeah, but besides that, the reason why we do what we do as an organization is we know the impact women can make. Yeah. Once they have more money in their hands, then they are able to invest. I mean, women will be the greatest investors in education, in nutrition, in ensuring that their families and their communities are well taken care of. Yeah, so that's why for us, women economic empowerment, ensuring that women access these procurement opportunities, especially from large corporations.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of The Millionaire Mind. My name is Turife. On our show, we focus on women in business, and a huge part of that is having a connection, having, you know, somebody tell you what's happening before you actually venture into something, or having basically leadership and mentorship. Yeah. And today joining us we have Margaret. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, Margaret.
Thank you very much for coming to our show. For those who don't know you, haven't read up about you beforehand, kindly introduce yourself and what you do.
Right, thank you so much for having me on the show today. So my name is Margaret Modeu. I am the Regional Director for Africa at We Connect International. So what we do is make connections happen between women-owned businesses and large corporations, so that they can access procurement opportunities. Okay. Yes.
And could you tell us more about We Connect?
All right, we are an international NGO, and what we do is we train, certify, and connect women-owned businesses to our buyers, who are large corporations from across the globe. And these are organizations that already have what we call a supplier diversity and inclusion program within their supply chain, where their intention is to include more women-owned businesses to be part of their supply chain. Okay. Yes.
And why do you focus mainly on women as opposed to every human being?
This is because from the various research, we've conducted various researches, and we've realized that 85% is the number. I mean, 85% is what women-owned, women, not just women-owned businesses. Women influence 85% of procurement purchases that are made at home. Also, looking at the population of women, you realize that they make 50% of the population in Kenya, across Africa. And a third of registered businesses are women-owned. The reason why we focus on women also is because besides the influence, the big influence they have, especially with the purchasing power, only 1% of procurement opportunities from large corporations and governments goes to women-owned businesses. This means that very little is going to the women who influence a lot. If they had more, then they'll be able to spend more.
True.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to be a bit intrusive and now ask you, how do you make that profitable for you? Because you're talking about helping women have more purchasing power, or connect them to suppliers and just have more money in their pockets. But how do you make that profitable for you?
Okay, we are an NGO, which means we are not a profit-making organization. But for us, I think what we reap greatly is the impact that our work does to the women-owned businesses, to the communities, the impact when they reinvest what they get from their businesses.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a very noble endeavor. So now how do you mobilize and find these people that you can help and connect to, you know, these suppliers?
We are a membership organization. So women-owned businesses have to register on our platform for them to be our members. But we have a criteria. They have to at least have ownership of 51% of the shares in the business, unless they are a sole proprietor. For buyers, our buyers also need to be registered on our platform, and of course there are different fees for that. So besides self-registration for the women-owned businesses, which is absolutely free, we also certify women-owned businesses that want to have a globally recognized certification that shows they are women-owned, which they can put on their products and also on their website to have that identification, and that of course comes at a cost. Yeah.
So how exactly does it work? Do you just connect them with the suppliers, or do you also do, I think, a part of marketing in the whole, equation?
So we do have a platform where they come and register their business profile on, which we call We Community. Yeah, so we call that as their silent pitch for our buyers, because our buyers are all also on the same platform. So whenever they need to access women suppliers, perhaps for certain products or services, it's a searchable database where our buyers are able to just search using keywords to see which women-owned businesses are in those particular categories of interest. But besides having that online platform, we also have different events which are either virtual or in person. Virtual, for example, one of our global buyers could tell us, okay, we'd want to host a session to meet some of the suppliers in this particular category, either virtually or even organize it in person. Yeah, so there are those opportunities. We also have matchmaking events. Like last year we held a matchmaking event with some of our buyers, and 50 women-owned businesses where they got an opportunity to come and meet our buyers. But besides that, besides the virtual events and the in-person events, we also have regional and global events. Like in March, we had our International Day, where we had women-owned businesses from Kenya and Nigeria participate in our International Day in the US, where they also got to meet buyers from there.
So where exactly are you based? Are you based in Kenya only? And what is your reach, and in how many countries so far?
Okay, so for me, I look at Africa. So in Africa, our 3 key markets are Nigeria, South Africa, and Kenya. Our Kenya being our most recent market, which is 1 year old. But besides that, we support our buyers on any other need they have, across any other African country. Yeah, so in Kenya, we currently have close to 300 women-owned businesses. We've been quite active here, working with various partners and hosting events. Actually, in May, we will have our Africa Regional Conference in-person day in Nairobi. Yeah, where we'll bring in women-owned businesses, our development partners, and our buyers together. Okay. Yes, for the conference.
Listening to your pitch and listening to you talk, it honestly does sound too good to be true. So for people who are doubting Thomases out there, somebody says, you know what, I have this product, I just don't know how to reach it into maybe the local market thus far, and even an international market, and you're giving them all this, this is what you can provide to you, but they're not really getting it. How do you really convince them that this is the way to go? And do you have proof of concept? Can you mention one business that's been successful thus far?
Sure, we do have success stories, which we also publish on our website. If you go to our website, www.weconnectinternational.org, you'll see a section where we have success stories from women-owned businesses that have been able to access procurement opportunities from our buyers. But I'll reference the one event that I mentioned we held last year. In July, we had a matchmaking event where we brought in some of our buyers in the room with women-owned businesses that were in categories of their interest. And out of that, one woman-owned business is our success story. Actually, it's a success story that we use in one of the general procurement awareness training that we are doing for IFC in Kenya. Yeah, so we do have a success story of a woman who's been able to get a procurement opportunity.
Awesome.
Yes.
And apart from connecting, people to global supply chains, do you also provide facilities for women who'd like to seek funding for expansion?
All right, so in the funding space, we are not it's not our key specialty right now as an organization. But what we do is we have some of our corporates that are our buyers that facilitate this. And I'll give an example with one of them. Citibank Group is one of our corporations that are our buyers. And they have a facility that benefits women-owned businesses. Like even some of those, like the example I have given, and some others that have already been shortlisted by some of our other corporate buyers. They're already enlisted onto their program to access, such facilities. Well, for when they get this procurement opportunities and they'll need funding, Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And for there to have been the birth of We Connect, obviously there had to have been a gap in the market or a niche. So what would you say is a barrier that, you know, prevents women from breaching these local markets and international markets? What brought the birth of We Connect?
Yes, so I'll refer to one of the statistics that I've given you at the start of this interview.
Yeah.
I have mentioned that only 1% of procurement opportunities from governments and large corporations goes to women-owned businesses.
Yeah.
And from a further study that was also done by IFC, it showed that only 3% of the procurement opportunities went to women-owned businesses in Kenya. Yeah. So that shows that there is a huge gap. I've mentioned that a third of the registered businesses are women-owned, which means that women are missing out of these procurement opportunities, which would bring, you know, great impact into their businesses.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how come We Connect came to start. But I can also give a brief history. So We Connect International was birthed out of this need where corporates needed to buy from women-owned businesses outside of the US. Yeah, so in the US, we have a sister company that is called WeBank, but these global corporations needed to access women suppliers outside of the US.
Okay.
So that's when We Connect International was started, and we are now practically in every in every continent, if I could say so. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So what would you say has been the role of the government of Kenya? Have they been supportive, or has it been limiting?
So one of the key roles that any government plays, especially in facilitating trade, is to create an enabling environment that will help, especially the women-owned businesses, to thrive. So I'll mention about an initiative that is already there by the government that complements the work that we do. The AGPO, Access to Government and Procurement Opportunities, where the government of Kenya requires 30% of procurement opportunities from government corporations to be set aside for women, persons with disabilities, and the youth.
Yeah.
And besides that, they also have a fund for women, like the Women Enterprise Fund. I think I had the PS Veronica Nduva mention recently that it's now part of the Hustler Fund. Yeah, so I can say the government is now trying to come up also, besides helping these women-owned businesses access procurement opportunities from the government parastatals, but there's also the funding opportunity. So I'd say this is a great step in the right direction.
Okay,
Yes.
and just to divert or to digress a little bit, you have mentioned the Hustler Fund.
Yes.
What are your personal thoughts about it?
Okay, personally, I may not have much to say. I have not tried it, but what I know is that it's accessible from your mobile phone, from the Safaricom app, and besides, and it's the Women Enterprise Fund is also part of the Hustler Fund.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think any funds that are available, any patient capital is always a good thing for businesses, hoping that maybe the ticket sizes are not as small, because I remember people mentioning that they're really, really small.
True.
Yeah, but I can say, I mean, if this is a facility that's available, it's patient capital, then let businesses take advantage of it.
Okay, it's a very political answer, but she's okay. What would you say is We Connect's guiding theme for 2023?
So our theme is impact through connections, and this is the only way as an organization would want to maximize the impact that we have been making through, you know, the linkages that we make between women-owned businesses and our buyers. Yes.
Okay. Earlier I had mentioned that as women are going into business, for it to be a success story, you need people who have gone before you and know what the climate is. Basically, the role of a mentor. Do you would you say there's an element of a mentorship program in what you do, and what would be your role as the mentor or the business coach for women in business? Okay,
so mentorship is always an important thing to, you know, help women know that it's have a picture of what's actually possible once they hear from someone who's already made it, either in the same space or generally just in business. So we do not have like mentorship programs within We Connect International, but we have various programs and opportunities where this is made possible. For example, the women-owned businesses in the Kenyan community have an opportunity to also offer peer-to-peer mentorship to each other through the various events that we host virtually and also in person, for them just to learn from one another.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think something that, you know, holds us back most of the time is when we hear about your organization, it's all of these wonderful things, and maybe you're thinking, I need a bit of training or a bit more expertise in what I'm doing. Is there a cost? You had mentioned about, you know, registration is fee and everything, but is there a cost for the training program?
So every training program that we do is absolutely free. So I can mention some of the training programs that we do.
Yes,
Our key
please.
focus is on general procurement readiness. Yeah, so whenever we host any of those trainings, it comes at no cost, because some of these are either sponsored by our buyers, like for example the Procter & Gamble Academy, which we host every year virtually, but also sometimes in person. Yeah, that one is sponsored by Procter & Gamble, where we have their senior executives coming to take our women-owned businesses through various training subjects. We also have Moody's Financial Bootcamp. This is funded by Moody's, which is one of our buyers. Yeah, we also have the UN procurement training, which we also host every year, also funded by the UN. And right now in Kenya, we have the General Procurement Awareness Training, which is funded by IFC. Kenya. Yeah, so they all come at no costs.
I think we've also in the past mentioned this, that women being in the business sector is a very recent thing, or rather being financially independent has just been very recent to us. You know, you could actually find somebody who's alive today who had to bank through her father or her husband. So it's very recent for us. Do you think you're focusing on empowering women because we are more keen or more ambitious when it comes to business as opposed to men? Or do you think, well, men have had a head start, it's time for us to just to level the playing field?
Yeah, I would pick your last sentence. Yes, to have a level playing field, to ensure that women access the same opportunities as men. Yeah, but besides that, the reason why we do what we do as an organization is we know the impact women can make. Once they have more money in their hands, then they are able to invest. I mean, women will be the greatest investors in education, in nutrition, in ensuring that their families and their communities are well taken care of. Yeah, so that's why for us, women economic empowerment, ensuring that women access these procurement opportunities, especially from large corporations, to have a greater impact.
We are freshly off of a global catastrophe, the pandemic, and it affected a lot of businesses. According to your research, have women in business thrived off of the pandemic, or has it just been as hard-hitting for everyone involved?
I would say women were very hard hit by the pandemic. The other reason, of course, you know, women are the caregivers of their family. We all had to stay at home, which meant that their unpaid work was increased by a certain percentage. Yeah, and also looking at businesses, the business environment at that time, there was not a lot that was happening in the business environment. So their businesses were also equally impacted. Yeah, and our buyers were also not buying so much at that time. But I would say that procurement is one of the powerful tools to harness to help women, you know, build back better and recover. And we already have success stories. For example, in South Africa, there was one woman-owned business during COVID who thought she was going to close her doors. Yeah, but when she was at that point, then she got a very big procurement opportunity from one of our corporate buyers, which she's still not, which meant that she remained in business and she's still operational and thriving. Yeah, so I'd say procurement is our access to market opportunities is one key thing to ensure that women now get to thrive in their businesses post-COVID.
And you know, the pandemic was an eye-opener to a lot of us. What would you say, and we don't know if it'll happen again, so what would you say was your role in protecting the buyers and the suppliers at the same time, so that even if there are losses, it wouldn't be as hard hitting as it would be for an individual who's just doing it on their own? What lengths did you go to protect the people you've taken under your umbrella?
Yeah, I would say one thing that came strongly out of the pandemic is digital transformation and the importance of leveraging on digital tools to ensure that trade still continued, that every other activity that we were doing, whether it's training, still continued. So we moved from in-person events to virtual events. Even our meetings internally as an organization, our conferences were also virtual. We also hosted what we call meet the buyer meetings between the women-owned businesses and our buyers virtually, so that there's no loss. We just jump onto, this leveraging on the digital tools to ensure that everything that we are doing, whether it's matchmaking, events, to ensure that these two remain connected, still continued. In
your line of business, I'm sure you come across very sad stories, borderline horrific, if we're being honest, because it's just basically the nature of things, mostly, especially in Africa. As much as you're an organization, I'm sure there's a human element to it. Do you find yourself sometimes, very carried away by someone's specific, personal story? Do you get a bit too personally involved in sometimes some of your clients who come to you?
Okay, I think as an organization, we try to remain as professional as possible and as supportive as possible. Yeah, so depending on the needs that we see, for example, if it's the women-owned businesses be it on mental health, and we'll need perhaps to host a session on that so that they can benefit. Yeah, we do host various webinars, which I believe have great impact to speak into some of those very specific needs that people are going through. How do you balance, for example, your business and your family life and work? Yeah, so we host those various webinars depending on the need, because I would say, like, getting involved personally, for example, you have 300 women on businesses, would be quite a stretch,
and a specific person who just sticks out to you.
Yes, but we try as much as possible just to understand what their needs are as part of our team, as part of our community, so that we can support them better, because we know if they're not thriving in their personal lives, then their business and every other facet of their lives is affected.
Okay, and what would you say has been what have been the challenges that you've faced so far? Especially, you said in Kenya, you've only been here for an year, and yes, you have done very significant work, but what has been challenging for you thus far?
Yeah, so this would come as a surprise. So we are in the business of making linkages happen between our women-owned businesses and our buyers. So one of the biggest challenges we've had is identifying women-owned businesses in specific sectors where we get these requests from our buyers. Like, for example, in some of the non-traditional sectors, like in tech, engineering, construction. We recently were looking for certain for suppliers in construction for one of our large corporate buyers, and we could not get those women.
Wow.
We just could not get them that met that particular threshold for the criteria that we are looking for.
Okay.
Yeah, because looking at our database, you'll find 30%, or actually about 40%, are in professional services because of the low entry barrier to get into such sectors. But in the non-traditional sectors where we get these requests, you find that we have very few women-owned businesses in those sectors. Yeah. So
okay, that is alarming. And perhaps you could share the data so that it could awaken more people as to what is happening. Apart from that, you did mention how you're a membership-based organization, so I could just sign in, and I'm sure you do incur the cost of training and providing these opportunities for networking for all of these people. What happens when you don't see the output you're expecting. For example, 300 women attend a training program, and out of those comes out a very few number, not what was expected or the expected results. How are you able to now put together that and say, was this a loss in the training, program, or is this a win for us? How exactly do you manage that, and is that a challenge you're facing right now?
So what we do whenever we have any training program going on, we also do monitoring and evaluation. So there's constant feedback that we are asking the participants. Like the basic ones. Do you think this training is meeting your needs, or did it improve your knowledge on certain elements, on what score? Yeah, so we are constantly monitoring that, so that as we continue, we are able to see, well, if it's not meeting their needs, can we go back to the drawing board and ensure we come up with something that's needs-based?
Yeah.
But I would say, like most of the programs that we've run, we usually start with a survey just to identify the needs of the women-owned businesses, so that we don't put together a training program that in our minds we imagine would meet the gaps that they have. Yeah, but we try to get as much feedback as possible before, during, and even after the training, to see the impact, the level of impact. Were they able to employ more people as a result of participating in our training? Did they grow their sales? Yeah, or add more products? And yeah, those are some of the things that we monitor.
Yeah.
Yes.
And circling back to the women entrepreneurs, we have been able to successfully identify the problems and the challenges they're facing, and that is very easy to do. You can pinpoint, okay, you're not getting viewership, not a lot of people are seeing what you're doing, maybe it's finances. What would you say have been the solutions you have provided for these women and for the challenges that they're facing?
Yes, so one of the challenges would be access to market opportunities, which is why we host matchmaking and networking events. I have mentioned we have our upcoming Africa Regional Conference, which will be hybrid. Day one will be purely virtual, but day two on May 17th, we will have an in-person event happening concurrently in Nairobi, Johannesburg, and Abuja. Yeah. So in Nairobi, we are collaborating with Strathmore University. And IFC Kenya, yes, IFC Kenya, and also USAID Kenya. Yeah, so this is a platform where women-owned businesses can register to come to our conference, meet buyers, and besides that, they'll also have an exhibition space where they're able to showcase their products and services. Yeah, so these are some of the opportunities that we create for them, to get visibility and also access these opportunities from our buyers. Yeah, the other one is access to finance, which we don't do directly, but we work with our partners that are in that space. So we collaborate a lot, because this is what we only are in access to markets. So we collaborate with other partners that are offering complementary opportunities for our community.
Okay, and we love to see that, because we have a culture of sautadu, I have this problem, that is so sad, what are you going to do about it? But we're happy that you are providing these solutions. And as we wind up, what would you say you see as the future of women in business, especially in Africa?
Yes, what I'd like to challenge women-owned businesses to do is to move out of their comfort zones. Every other week, I get requests from our buyers. Do you have women-owned businesses that can do this, that can provide this particular service? And you realize we do not have them. Why? Because a big percentage of them, like nearly 40% of them, are in professional services. So for example, if it was just marketing, I'd have like a whole list of women-owned businesses that are providing that particular service. But if it's tech or engineering, you find that women-owned businesses are not in those sectors. And these are the sectors where our buyers have their biggest spend in. And this is spend that could significantly change their lives and their businesses. Yeah, so I would say there are greater opportunities in the non-traditional sectors. Please get out of your comfort zone and take advantage of this opportunities available.
Okay. Yes. You did mention your conference coming up, but where on social media or a number can people reach you if they want to be in contact with you? or
Yeah.
We Connect?
Yes, so for We Connect in Kenya, we are on social media as We Connect International in Kenya on Facebook, Instagram, and on LinkedIn. We're also on Twitter.
Yeah.
So you can reach out to either of those platforms. But for you to register to attend our conference, we have our ticket sales that are happening on our website.
Yeah.
That is www.weconnectinternational.org. Go to the event space. And then go to go to regional events,
Yeah.
Select Africa, and you'll see our link for Africa Regional Conference there.
Okay.
But besides that, we are advertising this on our social media platforms, so be on the lookout, sign up and come.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing all this knowledge with us.
Yes.
We hope we have impacted somebody who is watching right now. Thank you also for viewing us. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, the number is 0770-729-366 and hashtag The Millionaire Mind on Twitter at AbreTV Kenya. My name is Turife, and until next week, bye.